Over the years, you've heard me ask wealth manager Warren Ingram the big questions. How do we invest wisely? How do we protect our family's future? All those conversations, that entire library of financial expertise is now available as a podcast. Straightforward advice to help you build your wealth on demand. Just search for Warren Ingram's Personal Finance wherever you get your podcasts.
What are the matters that matter to you?
702 Listens.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show on this 30th day of July. Thank you for being with us here on 702. I trust you're well this morning. The 702 open line starts now on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. You're welcome to share your comments with us on our 702 YouTube page if that's where you are watching and listening to us from. Just Google 702 YouTube page, get in there. You can watch and listen to the show at the same time and post your comments there as well. One of the comments was, how often do you shave your head, bro? Always too clean. Isn't it interesting? Since we've gone live on YouTube, we've become fashion advisors and hair advisors. You often have to, someone likes your jacket or your t-shirt and you have to say where you got it from, or in this case someone is asking how often I shave my beard because they see you on YouTube. Well, I actually shave it every second day. It's so much work, but it's got to be done because the minute I have hair growing, it gets so itchy, so I can't take it. So I have no choice but to shave every second day. So there you go. But yeah, on the 702 open line, if you've got comments on whatever we're discussing on the open line and you want to weigh in, you've got a question, you can put it up on YouTube as well. Here's the question. Do you think the media is being unfair on Deputy President Paul Mashatile? There are those that are suggesting that it's unfair to police his family's wealth. And I absolutely disagree with that. In fact, I think we should be policing the wealth of politicians in this country because we have seen how corrupt some of them can be. Now, the latest on Paul Mashatile is that he has now declared ownership of a 28.9 million rand home in the affluent Cape Town suburb of Constantia. News 24 reported that the house is on paper owned by a company belonging to his son-in-law, Neba Nonkwebo. By the way, the origin of the funds used to buy that house is under investigation by the Hawks. So the deputy president has made this declaration after 2 years of denials about the use and ownership of the property. Mashatile's spokesperson at some point claimed that the deputy president used his official residence when he's in Cape Town and no other residence, no other home. In fact, the office of the deputy president issued a statement a while back saying Mashatile owns only one house, the one him and his late wife bought through a bank, and that house is in Kelvin. But does the deputy president stay at that house? No. Where does he stay? News 24 says he stays at that 37 million rand house in the exclusive Waterfall estate in Midrand. So he has declared this 37 million rand house too. In fact, he had previously declared this house in Waterfall too, despite not owning it. And his office said that it was because he had beneficial use of the property. So 2 houses have been declared by the Deputy President. 28.9 million home in Constantia, declared as a residential family home by the Deputy President. There's a 37 million rand home at Waterfall. Now, your next question would probably be, who owns these houses the Deputy President uses? And what links do these people have to government tenders? And I'll get someone who has been investigating this to come and explain that to you in a moment. But do you think that policing the wealth of politicians is wrong? Like, do you think we should be doing that? Is it wrong for Mashatile to have a 28.9 million rand home in Cape Town and a 37 million rand home at Waterfall? You know, I asked someone this morning, would it be different if it was Cyril Ramaphosa, the president? And they said, yes, because he was a businessman for a very long time before he joined politics. So he made money and he came back to politics. And this person argued that Mashatile has been a politician throughout. So where does he get the money? Is the question they ask. And I wonder what you think and what do you make of the explanation he gives that, hey, look, these are my sons who owns these homes, or my sons-in-law. Are you satisfied with that response? Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Clement, Bongani was saying, I think yesterday morning, that a mother had to put down his own, like 4 children, because they were hungry. There was no food. We know it's a terrible, form of poverty in Eastern Cape. Now it will be absurd for anyone to come here and say politicians shouldn't be investigated if they amass so much wealth that really logically you cannot explain how. Look at the example that you are mentioning of Paul. Thank you. R21.
Yeah, but then Paul says, well, I don't own the home. For me, what's suspicious is, okay, why are you declaring it? I suppose, okay, let me rephrase that. I suppose his argument is that I am declaring these homes because of beneficial use, because at some point I do stay at this 37 million rand home in Waterfall, or I stay at the 28.9 million rand house in Constantia, so I need to declare it for beneficial use. But it's owned by my son-in-law, it's owned by my son. The question you've got to ask is, have these people received any tenders from government? And in fact, in his own explanation, he has indicated that that has been the case. I think the son-in-law has received a loan, he says, once, from one of the entities of the Gauteng government. And then I think one of his sons or 2 sons, in fact, I think it's a story that the News 24 is running this morning, that Thabiso Mashatile and Nyeko Mvelase, 2 of Mashatile's children, are linked to a company that was awarded a 2022 tender to maintain fire suppression and detection systems at hospitals in Gauteng. You've got to ask yourself, as someone who is a senior leader in the African National Congress, someone who is known very well within the political circles in Gauteng, how much influence does he have? And he may not have picked up a call and said, hey, give my children this tender. But there's a way these things work. The minute you have that association to a very senior leader of the organization who comes from this province, people know this person, there is an advantage of sorts that comes with that. And that's why politicians must always be cautious when they have family that does business with the state. You can't want to argue that, yeah, but I was a Minister of Arts and Culture, I had nothing to do with that entity. Yes, but you are a senior politician from Gauteng. You've held such senior positions in the province. So the nuances, the context matters there. That's why he says, in fact, I must find you an interview that he did with Sizwe Mpofu, when he indicated that, yeah, I spoke to my son-in-law and I spoke to my sons as well, and I told them that I don't want them to do business with government. They've only done it once or so. but they normally operate outside of government. But I disagree that we shouldn't be policing the wealth of politicians. It would be a different story if we lived in a different country. This country, our politicians, some of them have shown us that they are crooks, that they will use their families and their friends to benefit from state contracts. So it's important for us to look very closely. More of your WhatsApp voice notes.
Clement, I mean, nothing surprising about the Paul Mashatile revelations. I mean, the script is the same. They just do their work, spend time at Lutule House. You'll be wondering, I mean, how do these guys survive on salaries of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21,000 rands per month? But you look at their lifestyles, I mean, they've got properties in upmarket residential areas, your Stain City, one in Midrand, all around the country. But the salaries, I mean, at Lutule House, I mean, it's 18, 19, 20, 21,000 rands. So it's up to the people they claim to represent, I mean, to decide what they want to do with the state of affairs. Thanks, Clement Tabo Midrand.
Good morning, Clement. I think it is correct that Paul Mashatile should be questioned. To my recollection, Paul Mashatile has never run any business. So how does he get to afford multi-million rand homes such as this in Waterfall Estate and in Constantia and Cape Town? Something is not make sure. Bopelo from Benoni.
Good morning, Clement. I don't see anything wrong with our deputy president owning the houses worth millions, as long as he affords them. The fact that we are poor doesn't mean that other people are poor. Thank you very much. Peter Maila Machaba from Letswana.
Yeah, Peter, true, but at least you must be able to explain your wealth, right? That's why I gave an example of, someone who said, I would get it with Ramaphosa. Not to say that Ramaphosa's wealth must not be monitored, and policed. But the argument was, I get it with Ramaphosa because there's evidence of what he has done to amass that wealth. Right? Like he has gone, he was in business and he came back. And the question then you ask is, if Paul Mashatile is living such a luxurious life, living in these multi-million rand properties, where does he get that money from? His explanations have been that, and this is what happens a lot with politicians, is a lot of politicians you'll see, they don't own really much. But that's why you must go look closely. Who are their children? What do they own? And it's unfair on those children because some politicians have children who legitimately are genuine business people. But unfortunately, their fathers and their mothers and their loved ones who are in politics, some of them are working for organizations that have shown us that their politicians can steal like nobody's business. So you are going to be affected by that. That's what I always look at. Politicians are not stupid to go and register at. Do you think a politician would go register a 37 million rand house? I mean, that would be stupid of them. That would be so naive of them. Because of course we're going to ask, how do you afford that? So that's not how they operate. Politicians always operate with middlemen. And I'm not suggesting that's what Paul Mashatile has done here. I'm just saying, when you see a politician who says, I only have one house somewhere, I bought it in 1962 or in 1995 or in 2005, don't take that at face value. Go and look at who are the people around him. Who are his children? Who are his cousins? Are they doing business with the state? What's happening? Because in the past we've seen politicians have used people close to them. During COVID, remember during COVID? Politicians' children who were getting tenders to supply what did we call those things? The PPE. They used to go and to come and give PPEs. They were politicians' relatives who were getting tenders to supply PPEs. How do you explain that? So we must always go deeper and ask who are the people that these politicians are related to, and are they getting government contracts? And we need to trace it back, because often that's how they work. They don't put their names up there. It's 25 after 9.
Over the years, you've heard me ask Wealth Manager Warren Ingram the big questions. How do we invest wisely? How do we protect our family's future? All those conversations, that entire library of financial expertise is now available as a podcast. Straightforward advice to help you build your wealth on demand. Just search for Warren Ingram's Personal Finance wherever you get your podcasts.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
28 minutes after 9 o'clock. Winnie, you're calling us from Randburg. What are your thoughts? Good morning. Hello, Winnie.
Morning, Clement and the listeners. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
All right. Clement, I just feel that we are so unfair because we think that Paul Mashatile cannot use his brains, or he does not have any advice. I'm thinking that the man has been married to his former wife. They had their first home. Wherever they had their homes, ever since he's been in government, hasn't he been saving money? He's been working. The former wife has been working, and all of those other things. I'm just thinking that the way we judge him, we are judging ourselves as well, of saying that, I cannot use my brain to say each and every salary I will put it away, each and every bonus I will put away, I will go into stokvels and all of those other things, because I'm just thinking that in the age that I'm in, we've been starting with a stokvel. When I was in my 20s, we were saving 500, we went to 1,000. Now we are saving close to 10,000 rand a month, because we had that discipline and that drive to say that this is what we want to do, and that is how we have, forced ourselves living below our means. And I'm just thinking it's very much unfair. I know that he's a politician, but the way we judge and we scrutinize that he cannot be having a 28 million rand property. And I'm just thinking, 28 for his age, and thinking where I am was, for the discipline of the past 25, 26 years that I have put with my husband together and some of my friends.
Do you think you should explain that maybe, Winnie? Do you think he should be able to say, oh, guys, I did save money. Look at how much money I saved, and that's how I'm able to live in this luxurious life, or in these multi-million rand properties?
But I think he can explain as much as he can, but we will still doubt him that he cannot afford that. And to me, I'm just saying that, when you look at the discipline that you have put in, I'm thinking about me as an ordinary person.
It's possible to do that, yeah. I get you, Win, I get you.
Yes.
But are you saying should he be able to do that? Like, would you be satisfied? Because these are politicians, right, Winnie? It's important to understand the context here. In the ANC, we have seen leaders of the ANC who use government contracts to enrich themselves. So there are some South Africans who actually just want to satisfy themselves. So do you think that's why there are lifestyle audits, right? Because politicians need to be able to say, oh, I drive a 5 million rand car. Here's how I'm able to afford it. So do you agree, though, that as a politician, if you are living in a house that your salary ordinarily would not be able to afford even an installment on that bond, you should be able to say, oh, here's how I'm able to do it. I've been saving money throughout, or I've got shares in this and that company, and this is how I'm able to afford this.
Yes, I think he can do that if he wants to, but he's not forced. There's the other thing, because even if when he explained that we will go after those companies, he's got shares in there because of this 1, 2, and 3, and then when he does not, he's at fault.
Okay, Winnie in Randburg, thank you so much for your thoughts. And once again, I've got to clarify again, the deputy president, from what we have seen, he has claimed that these houses, these expensive houses, are actually owned by one, I think, his son-in-law, this one that he is now declared there in fact, together with the one in Waterfall. So these are not houses that are owned by him. More of your WhatsApps and calls after the headlines.
Over the years, you've heard me ask Wealth Manager Warren Ingram the big questions. How do we invest wisely? How do we protect our family's future? All those conversations, that entire library of financial expertise is now available as a podcast. Straightforward advice to help you build your wealth on demand. Just search for Warren Ingram's Personal Finance wherever you get your podcasts.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. This is the 702 open line. We are live on the 702 YouTube page. In fact, I've got some comments that are coming through on the YouTube page. William on YouTube says, Clement, the DA leaders also with the same vigor should be scrutinized. They have been in the Western Cape government for all this time. William, I absolutely agree with you. Where it becomes inconsistent is when there is no similar vigor to scrutinize some of the DA, let's say in this case, DA politicians in the Western Cape. But who is the DA politician in the Western Cape who lives in such a multi-million rand house? Because if there's one that exists and that person is not being investigated, then that is weird. That is inconsistent. I agree with you. But do you know of one who does? I've not seen one. One person once claimed that Helen lives in a house like that. I've actually been to Helen Zilla's house in the Western Cape, not to visit her for tea or anything, but it was to shoot an interview. When I was recording a show for SABC2 last year. It was called 30 Winds of Change. And we had to we were visiting the homes of all these. I mean, we went to Mokweng's house in the Northwest. We went to Dali Tambo's house, all these politicians and people in the judiciary. We went to Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng's house in Cape Town. So we're traveling around the country, and one of the homes we visited was Helen Zilla's home. And trust me, it's the most modest house I have ever seen of any politician. I have never come across any other politician who lives in a modest house like Helen Zilla. You know what car Helen Zilla drives? What car was it? Was it a Corsa? Helen, just outside a garage, she had parked her car, the one she had owned for so many years. You'd probably buy that car for 30,000 rand now. So it's such a modest home, and I'm not suggesting all of the DA politicians live like that. I'm saying if you know of one, William, on YouTube, let me know, because then we can say, but why are we not checking out this one who lives, or John Steenhuisen, or whoever who lives in a house like this, or whose children have got contracts with the Western Cape government? But I agree that if we're not focusing on that, then we're not being consistent as well. On YouTube, Anna also says, hi, Clement, I totally agree. Politicians must be investigated. Their lifestyles are extravagant. South Africans are becoming more and more poorer. Bunny, you are calling us from Brakpan. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Clement.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, sorry, man. I just needed to respond to the lady from Randburg that called in with regards to politicians using their brains and stuff. And I just quickly went in to check Paul Masatile's age to do a quick a test. So he would have been 32 years in politics if we count from 94. At 10,000 rand, both him and his wife would have saved 7.6 million. Compound interest, all of that will take us to 36.8 million. Now, and this is to your point. When we're talking lifestyle audits. Because if you take all of their expenses, school fees, food, rent, rates and taxes, all the works, it is still not going to accumulate to what he currently has. And that's why it is important for us. Who's his family members? Who supports him? And there would be nothing wrong with that. But the close proximity to them doing their business with government would become a problem.
Yeah.
And as you say, who do you pick up a call to and say, listen here, my son is applying for a tender there and there. Please assist him. But we can even take it away from government, Clement. We've seen politicians now with Kenny Kunene and them busy in the underworld. That can also expose some drug dealings. We had Jacob Mamabolo that was doing business with Chinese guys that were selling rhino on. So it's not just about also are they doing business with tenders. but what other illegal activities might they be involved in? And we must stop buying this nonsense from politicians. We must really be consistent and do it for every single politician that is out there. And that would be my comment. We must just, as people, think these things through and do the math, because we are ourselves in business and in banking and in accountants and whatever. Just sit down and do the math. When the politician says, I've got 150 million, like Gated McKenzie, I'm in the mining industry, for example. I don't want to be all over the place. I've never come across any of his mines. And all of a sudden, his son bought a team, and they've got 1,000 mines that he was talking about the other day. So he's got more mines than Patrice Motsepe. So technically, Gaten is more rich than Patrice. And for me, we need to interrogate these things, because otherwise, if we're just going to accept what politicians tell us, we are doomed.
Yeah, Bunny, sure, calling us there from Brakpan. A number of claims there being made. But I think, Bunny, your broader point is we need to scrutinize. Guys, I have no problem with a politician who's got children who are doing incredibly well, and who are out there in other sectors of the industry. My issue is always going to be with, if your child gets a contract from a government, I am going to ask some questions. And you may want to claim that, but I was not MEC in the province at the time. But you're a senior, who doesn't know Paul Mashatile in Gauteng, for instance? Paul Mashatile is a very known figure in Gauteng circles. He's held senior positions in this province, in the ANC, in government. So you may have been arts and culture minister, but do you really think that your child who applies for a tender, that's not going to raise eyebrows? I think as a politician, the minute you choose that I want to serve the public and I'm choosing to accept the calling and the appointment of deputy president or of minister, you must know that that comes with a burden. That burden is that your family is going to be scrutinized differently to other families that are normal out there. You must accept that there's going to be a burden that your family is not going to be allowed to do business with the state. Are you prepared to accept that burden? If you're not prepared to accept it, then stay away from a senior government position and allow your family to continue benefiting from the state. That's fine. It's like when you become a judge. When you become a judge, you accept a lot of sacrifices. There are burdens that you take on. You can't just go around making political statements. That's why they'll take you to the JSC. So there are burdens of responsibility that come with the positions that we occupy. In this case, there are two sons of Paul Mashatile who are linked to a company that was awarded a tender in 2022. The companies were paid a combined 36.4 million rand and are owed 12.6 million rand for work that's already been completed. I think that's done, which is great because in some cases it's worse. Some of the relatives of the politicians get paid monies for projects that are not even completed. In this case, News 24 reports the project was completed, right? This tender was to maintain fire suppression and detection systems at hospitals in Gauteng. Are you saying that we must just look at this and go past this and think, these are Paul Mashatile's sons. Yes, they got 36.4 million rand but it doesn't mean anything. No, we have to scrutinize. We've got to ask serious questions. And maybe, yes, they followed the bidding process which is fine, but we've got to satisfy ourselves because history has taught us to be careful. That's what history has taught us. And Paul Mashatile, I think, has already indicated that he has told his sons not to do business with government again because even he himself realizes that this is suspicious. Do you know how many people have failed lifestyle audits in Gauteng? How many people? 4 or 3. 3 or 4 senior government officials in Gauteng. Panyaza Lesufi has had to let them go because they have failed lifestyle audits. These are people who can't explain where their wealth is coming from. They can't. What does that tell you? If Paul Mashatile says, oh, this property in Cape Town is owned by my son-in-law, and you realize that the son-in-law at some point received the loan from the Gauteng, one of the entities in Gauteng, in the Gauteng government, you've got to ask the questions. Okay, how much? Why? What was the bidding process? What happened? Because we've got to satisfy ourselves that a proper process was followed. This person didn't get any advantage over other people just because they are related to a very, very, very senior politician in the province. Tulani, you're in Centurion. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Clement.
Sure.
You disappointed me yesterday, man. I marveled at the word super consultant. And I thought you were going to ask, what is a super consultant? I really was marveling at the term. I've never heard of it before.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, he was insisting, I'm a super consultant. But two things, Clement. The first thing is with regards to the interview that we had yesterday.
Yeah.
I think the guy regretted the interview in the middle of it. He honestly regretted it. He did not expect you to ask the questions that you asked.
Kanti, what do people expect journalists to do? Like, what do they expect us to do? That we are so dumb that we're just going to say, hey, what's your reaction to this?
I think the insatiable appetite that he has for spotlight and limelight drove him to accept the interview. But in the middle of it, I think he regretted why I actually took this interview on. Because if indeed he is an informer, people that he might have informed on before now know that possibly and maybe they might have suspected him, now know that it might be him. And I think that's one of the reasons why he might be regretting why he took the interview on. But with regard to Paul Mashatile, Clement, I'll be brutally honest with you. I doubt there is a politician that has not done something and that politician comes from the ANC. I really doubt it. If there is one, I would swallow my words and I'll eat humble pie. But I really, really doubt if there is any. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Tilani, calling us from Centurion. That's what he doubts. Yeah, in fact, I feel bad because I didn't give you guys enough time to respond to the interview that we did yesterday with Malcolm X. So let me see what I can do, because what Tulani is raising about a super consultant, I'm interested in going deeper into that, because what is a super consultant? And you'll get the context of that in a moment. Maybe I should pay you some of the clips of that. It's 10 minutes now before 10 o'clock.
Over the years, you've heard me ask Wealth Manager Warren Ingram the big questions. How do we invest wisely? How do we protect our family's future? All those conversations, that entire library of financial expertise is now available as a podcast. Straightforward advice to help you build your wealth on demand. Just search for Warren Ingram's Personal Finance wherever you get your podcasts.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
7 minutes before 10 o'clock. I'm going to continue with your calls and WhatsApps in a moment. I want to plug you onto something now. So recently on the show, we've been talking a lot about AI and how people have no fluency in AI. They don't know how to use AI. Remember we spoke even on our Listener's Choice feature about some judges that have raised concerns, even the legal aid practice have raised concerns about how lawyers are using AI, and sometimes AI hallucinates and puts up non-existent case laws. And I think there's more and more need now to get fluency in AI and understand how we can use it. And I've got someone on the line who's going to tell us about the opportunity that exists for you to get some course in the fluency of AI. So you could sign up even before the end of July, in fact, and talk about, and you can come through and hear how you can gain fluency in AI and how this course can enable you to do so. So welcome Professor Mamo Pakeng, who is in Johannesburg for us now, joining us on the line. Prof, thank you for coming through. Good morning.
Hello, Clement.
How are you?
Hi, good morning, Clement. I'm really well. I'm in the Eastern Cape and we are driving the message of AI fluency.
That's great.
Been going across the country, and thank you so much for the wonderful introduction.
So please tell us more about the opportunity that exists, because every time we've had this chat, about AI and how we're using it and what we're not understanding, there are a lot of people who say, but where do I get to learn about how I can use it, in an ethical way? So what is the opportunity that exists for people who would want to learn more?
The Net Campus is offering a course, a free AI fluency course, and the aim was to reach 100,000 South Africans who need to become AI fluent. And people may ask, what is the course about? I mean, it's free. It takes 6 hours, and you don't have to do all the 6 hours all at once. You register for the course free of charge. You can get a QR code, and I'll send it to you. You can put it on your social media pages, Clement, so that people can read it. It's on my social media pages as well. You get an email, and then you decide when to start. Once you start, you can take the 6 hours at your leisure, whether you do 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, or whatever. The idea is to finish all the 6 hours, and then you write an exam at the end. When you pass, you get a Microsoft accredited certificate that says you are AI fluent. Now, AI fluency is important. You mentioned the issue of when the AI model hallucinates. Well, this course, one of the things that this course will do is to help you to evaluate content that is generated by any AI model, because the AI is not new. What's new is generative AI, because it can generate human-like content. But that human-like content sometimes is flawed, and the issue is, how do you know? And so you will get the skills to be able to evaluate any human-like content, any content that's generated by AI, whether it's you who generated it or it comes from elsewhere, to see whether this is flawed or deep fake or whatever. And that's important. But the tool, the course will also help you get better at prompting, because when you have an AI tool, what makes it more useful is if you know how to prompt.
I see.
Yeah, because it depends on the prompt that you give. The information that you get depends on the prompt that you give the AI model. If the prompt is not specific, not focused, then of course sometimes that's also the root of hallucination that the AI tool gives you. So it will help you with all of that. Now, some people say to me, this is Microsoft. Are we just going to be indoctrinated into all the Microsoft AI tools only? No. The course will introduce you to other AI tools as well. For example, GPT is not a Microsoft tool, but you will talk about ChatGPT and other AI models. And then, of course, there will be a much more intense focus on Copilot. And here's the thing. All of us sitting here have got Microsoft software on our laptops. It comes on our computers, desktops or laptops. It comes standard. And so everyone has it and sort of has it in inverted commas for free. It's better to be able to use the tools that you already have than just learn about the tools that you have to buy. This one you already have. But you will also be introduced to the other AI tools that you don't have. And of course, you mentioned the issue of ethics. You will also be taught how to evaluate, how to be ethical in using AI tools, whether as a student or even as a professional in your workplace.
I see. So how do people register for this course? I will put up a link as well, but if they go on Twitter, they find a link, you just click it and then you go register there.
And it takes 1 minute to register. When you register, if you click on the link, I'll send you the QR code now. If they use the QR code, click on the link, it will take them to a page, and it might say in partnership with Professor Mamkrit Pakeng. You click, you complete your name, you write your email address. It might say reference. If it says reference, you can just write Prof. Pakeng, then they know that it's the free course that comes from here. And then you chill. You'll get an email within 48 hours, and the email will welcome you, recognize that you've registered, and direct you where to click when you are ready to start. You click there to start at your own leisure.
Okay.
And then you decide how you chunk the 6 hours.
All right.
And here's the thing, Clement, many people say, well, we write an exam at the end. What if I don't pass? Well, if you don't pass, you write it again and again and again.
Until you get it.
And that's the time you get a certificate. People say, what do I do with the certificate? Well, first of all, You can use it as a flex on LinkedIn for people to know that you're fluent. But every time you apply for an opportunity, you put it in because AI fluency is the standard.
Yeah, absolutely. Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, thank you so much for that plug. I think that is incredibly important given how we're increasingly using AI these days. I'll put up that link on my Twitter account, but also check it out on Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng's timeline if you really want to register for this course.
Over the years, you've heard me ask Wealth Manager Warren Ingram the big questions. How do we invest wisely? How do we protect our family's future? All those conversations, that entire library of financial expertise is now available as a podcast. Straightforward advice to help you build your wealth on demand. Just search for Warren Ingram's Personal Finance wherever you get your podcasts.
Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Thank you for staying with us on YouTube as well, because we have a whole community there that's watching and listening to the show at the same time. Okay, I see that a lot of you are asking about this link that Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng spoke about. I have tweeted it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to send it to each and every one of you. So you've got to, if you're not on Twitter, you've got to ask somebody who is, to just go on my timeline at the real Clement M is my Twitter account name, or go to Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng. If you just type Phakeng or Kgethi Phakeng on Twitter, her profile should come up. And she has posted about this. So you'll see that her tweet says the AI Fluency National Campus Tour at the UNISA campus in Florida. Make sure you don't miss out on the opportunity to become fluent in AI. Register for the free AI Fluency course before the end of July. So there's a link there that is attached. In fact, I've just opened it now. It says free AI Fluency training. Start now. I won't start now because I'm still on air. But I have retweeted that and I've said, guys, here is that link that Professor Phakeng spoke about. So check it out on Twitter at the real Clement M. I've just tweeted it, or check out Mamokgethi Phakeng's timeline on Twitter or on X, as some people still call it. And yeah, you can start doing your free online AI fluency course. It's 10 minutes now after 10 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
Okay, so I said to you before the news at 10 o'clock that we actually didn't give you enough time. Yesterday we had a conversation with Malcolm X, and I'm doing this because there are a number of you that wanted to comment on that interview yesterday, but I just thought for some reason, we've moved on. That's why I introed a different conversation, but we did take a call from Tulani earlier on, who spoke about Malcolm X and what he said about being a super consultant. So here's what we thought we're going to do. So we're going to give you an opportunity to do that in this first 30 minutes of the show. So we'll play you, what I'll do is I'll play you some snippets. Abel, how long is the full interview? So I'm going to play 20 minutes. Yeah, that's all. I'm going to play you some snippets of the conversation with Malcolm X, and then I'm going to take your calls. And you can tell us what your reflections were. And maybe you still remember what he said yesterday. And you can share with us what your reflections were. And for me, my question, I suppose, after that conversation was, what do you think is at play here? What do you think is at play? What, based on what he has said and what Godfrey Lebeya has said, what do you think is adding up for you? What is not adding up for you? And I saw Abel, Godfrey Lebeya did an interview yesterday somewhere else. I could be wrong, but I will confirm this. I saw there's another news agency or a radio station that tweeted an interview that they did with Godfrey Lebeya, and yet he refused to come and speak to us when Malcolm X contradicted what he told us. Isn't that suspicious? So that was very suspicious for me, because I'm not suggesting that this means anything on the character of Godfrey Lebeya. I'm just saying that he came on air and he told us a story. Malcolm X came and contradicted that story. We called him immediately as Malcolm X made those allegations, and we said, here's an opportunity for you to come and tell us what your views are on what Malcolm X has just told us. Because Malcolm X says it's not true what Godfrey Lebeya said, that this is someone who has provided credible information before as an informant to the Hawks. And then we said, come through. And he said he's not going to be able to come through. The next place he's going to be speaking at is the Commission of Inquiry, the Madlanga Inquiry. Malcolm X made another claim that he has a relationship with Godfrey Lebeya. They've been talking even on WhatsApp since 2023. Malcolm X didn't want to tell us what they've been talking about. And we called Godfrey Lebeya again and we said, okay, this is what he now says about your conversation since 2023. What was the conversation about? I mean, if it was about maybe some criminal matters, he was informing you about something, you don't have to reveal that to us, but at least satisfy South Africans that this is what we were talking about. We care about that because General Mkhwanazi has told us that there are some business people that have relationships with law enforcement heads. And in fact, Malcolm X did say, I have a relationship with these heads of law enforcement because I know their bosses. And even they have a relationship with me. So when we gave Godfrey Lebeya an opportunity to come on the show yesterday to explain that, what Malcolm X has told us, he said, I can't come on air. He told us he'll speak at the inquiry. Next thing, we see an interview that he's done somewhere else. I mean, of course, he's got every right to go and speak wherever. It's just suspicious that, oh, here's someone contradicting you on this platform. You don't want to come and respond to questions on that. But you're happy to go somewhere else, even though you've told us that you're not speaking to us because you're going to speak at the inquiry. That was interesting. So here's what Malcolm X says. So what we'll do is the conversation we're going to have now at 10 o'clock, we'll move it to the 11 o'clock because we were going to talk about tariffs anyway at 11 o'clock. So we'll have that chat about what our plan is as South African government, what are the implications of the tariffs as we prepare for them come the 1st of August. But here's an opportunity for you to comment on that conversation with Malcolm X. What did it reveal for you? What do you think is at play here? 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 0727021702.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
All right, let's start with this. I don't remember what he was saying here, Abel, but just play it. So based on the Africa News Global website, they're saying that you said that it's the friend of Molefe who called you. In fact, let me quote it here. It says, Malcolm X told Africa Global that he received a call from a client of his who happened to be friends with Molefe. So you told Africa News Global this person was friends with Molefe. You're telling me now that this person was brothers to Molefe. Which is which?
Okay. Now, in the streets, a friend can be a brother can be a friend. I could be friends with someone, but the friendship could be at a level whereby we feel that we are brother, that we feel that it's no longer just a friendship, but a brotherhood. I've got people who are not related to me biologically, but I call them my brother, how you my brother, we call each other brothers.
Okay, so in this case, can we be clear then? Is it a friend or is it a brother?
I don't know if they are friends or brothers, but they call each other brothers.
So that is the first contradiction that I put up to him, because on Africa News Global he says, oh, a friend of Katie Molefe called me, but when he spoke to us yesterday he said a brother of Katie Molefe called me, and he says in his circles brother and friend are the same thing. But these things matters, especially when the waters are so murky. These small little details matter, and that's why you've got to be able to clarify and get really what the true story is. So here he is now talking about being a super consultant, because I had asked him, why do you have such easy access to these high profile people? And he says, no, but I know politicians. I said, but the head of the Hawks is not a politician. Far from it, in fact. So how do you have access? Because you said you know these heads of law enforcement agencies because you know their bosses. I imagine ministers. How do you have access to these people? Is that where you operate in your industry? And this is how he explained it. You said the brother of Molefe is the one who called you and said, my brother is about to be arrested and we're concerned, right?
Yes.
Okay. Why did the brother call you? Why didn't he call the police?
I don't know why he didn't call the police. But as a super consultant that I am.
What do you consult in? Are you a lawyer?
No, a consultant with a registered company in consulting. I consult for everything, entertainment, construction, all that.
Okay, so with legalities like this, what gives you the authority to be, for instance, if someone consults me, it's probably going to be about the media interviews. Nobody's going to call me, for instance, and say, oh my God, my brother is about to be arrested and these people are identified, because I don't have authority on that. I don't consult in that space. So I'm trying to understand, if you are not a lawyer, you are not an investigator, on what authority did the brother of Molefe call you and say, help?
The brother of Molefe called me because he's been my client for a long time in entertainment. Now they know that I'm very close to authorities as in politicians, businessmen and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
and he knew. Yeah, and he knew that at that level I could assist.
Okay, that might make sense. So they knew that you are close to authorities. So that's very important. I mean, if you're gonna call someone who's a businessman and you call them because you know that they're close to authorities, and not any other authorities but law enforcement authorities, based on what General Mkhwanazi has said, that's quite like some critical information to take to mind. Now, here's Malcolm X talking about what happened after General Mkhwanazi held a press briefing earlier this month, because he was telling us that he called him, and General Mkhwanazi at some point called him back because he had missed his call. Here's how he explained it. You called General Mkhwanazi after his press briefing. Do you have a relationship with General Mkhwanazi? Because you seem to have a very close relationship with these top police officials, because you said you've got links to their bosses.
They also have relationships with me.
Yeah. On what basis? On what basis?
I've never met General Mkhwanazi before. Besides to say, we had an international festival in Durban in May.
Yeah.
We brought Ray Cross. I was a joint venture partner at that festival, and obviously we had to interact with authorities in Durban, the municipality. And in one of the pictures, General Mkhwanazi met my business partner.
Okay, so when you called him after his press briefing, what were you trying to clarify to him?
I was trying to say, General, you said someone that called General Libya tried to interfere with the work of the police. I'm that person, and I was not trying to interfere with the work of the police.
Then what did he say?
He did not pick up. Then 3 hours later, he called me. I also missed his call. The following day, I called him twice, but he did not pick up.
Okay.
Prior to that, I had sent him, after the festival, I had sent him a message to thank him.
Okay.
For a festival that went well, where our people were safe.
Okay.
So I've never had a telephone discussion with him besides missing each other's calls.
Okay, got it. Missing each other's calls. So that's what he said about General Mkhwanazi. Now, here's the last clip I'll play for you, and then I'll go to your calls on WhatsApps, where he speaks about what Godfrey Libya said. So, if you missed it, last week we spoke to the former Hawks head, Godfrey Libya, and he said that he received a call from a police informant, someone who has provided information before to the police previously. And this time, and that information has been credible. And he called him and said, there are people here who are trying to arrest this person, and they claim to be Hawks officers. And the Hawks head then said, okay, because these people may be impersonating Hawks officers, we arranged for Hawks officers to go there and check, blah, 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 but they didn't stop the arrest. But what was interesting here was that this man, Malcolm X, said that, look, I have never provided information to the police before. I've never done that. I'm not a police informant. I did call Godfrey Libya on the day because I found police officers who were claiming this and this and this. But I've never been a police informant. So what I did is I played him a clip of Godfrey Libya confirming that this informant, in this case Malcolm X, has actually provided information before to the Hawks that has been credible. And this is how he responded to that.
Just put it on record that I have never provided information to the Hawks or the police, as the general says. I'm actually appalled. I'm not an informant, as he says. If I were to show you my our communications, as in WhatsApp communications, since 2023, you'll see that there's nothing about providing information, credible information. I've never been his informant. I've never been registered as his informant.
So what were you guys talking about since 2023 on WhatsApp with the head of the Hawks?
We're talking about things that have nothing to do with being an informant, nothing to do with Katie Molefe. I did not know Molefe. So on the court, I'm not his informant. I've never been.
But since 2023, you were talking to the Hawks head. What were you guys talking about?
We're talking about things that are totally different from what's being reported here. And it was
like
not
what?
about
Is it something you can't tell us? Is it a secret?
It's not something that I can discuss on the media.
Why can't you discuss it?
Because it's a privileged information.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with the Godfrey Bia's work as Hawks head?
Yes, it does. But it has nothing to do with being closely related to criminals, as he alleges.
So, that's what Malcolm X said. Let's go to your WhatsApps now and calls. In fact, Bambata on Twitter says, Clement, Mr. Manyathela, let's connect the dots here. Malcolm X called Hawks boss. Malcolm X is Kenny's friend. Kenny was on the scene when Katie Molefe was arrested. Who called Kenny? The more they explain, the more they go deeper in the mud.
Hi, Clem, Tabo here in Tshwane. I don't think we should break our heads with this thing of Godfrey Libya and Malcolm X. The fact of the matter is that Malcolm X is a snitch. So he's an informant. And so that's what it is. He doesn't want that label because obviously that puts his life and reputation in question because he's been snitching on the people that he hangs out with, particularly criminals. So, he's just a snitch. That's what it is. Nothing complicated here.
Good morning, Clement. Having listened to Malcolm X and haven't had a chance to watch Mr. Libya, I think it was on Newsroom Africa. Really, I'm confused now. I don't know what to believe. I don't know whether to trust what Mr. Libya is saying. I think somewhere, somehow, there is some corruption that is happening or has happened, which unfortunately has caused a lot of people harm, and some it has cost their lives. It's really unfortunate, Clement. It's so painful just to think of it, that one of the top guys in the country gets to be tainted like this. I don't know, Clement, but it's serious. We need to investigate and get the truth of all this. Tuso here.
Komani, you calling us from Randburg. Good morning. Oh, we've just lost Komani there. Can we have Komani back on the line? In the meantime, let's go back to your WhatsApps.
Good morning. But why would this Malcolm X want to incriminate himself unprovoked? I don't get it. Anyway, this is to vindicate what Nkwana has said about SAPS and the high-ranking officials in that organization. But let's see how it pans out. Anonymous.
Yeah, look, this guy, the way he speaks about the heads of law enforcement, and he says, well, I know them. I've got access to them. I've got a relationship with them because I know their bosses. Like, he speaks with such authority. And again, when you look at what the KZN police commissioner has said, you've got to wonder, what are we dealing with here? And nobody forced Malcolm X to reveal himself. And maybe they wanted an exclusive so bad at Africa News Global that they thought, oh, let's reveal you as someone who called Godfrey Lebeya. But what they had forgotten is that Godfrey Lebeya had said on this show that the person who gave him that information has actually been a police informant before. So you're actually putting your life at risk. Can you imagine if this guy has people around him who are businesses who have been targeted, or not even targeted, who've been investigated by the Hawks, for instance, and they've been wondering, how did the Hawks know about this? And now they're sitting there thinking, could it have been this guy? But nobody forced this man to reveal himself like that. And he should have been more cautious and not jump into wanting to do an exclusive with Africa News Global. Because rightly so, Godfrey Lebeya, the former head of the Hawks, didn't want to reveal the name of the informant, which is understandable because you don't reveal, those people are not supposed to be known. But he went and said, in an exclusive, I'm going to reveal myself as a person who called Lebeya, forgetting that Lebeya has said, the person who called me has given me information before in the past, or given us information in the past that was credible.
Clement, I think here we're dealing with someone who's afraid for his life. Yeah, I think he knows maybe what has been exposed, it may come back to him. I think that's what's the case. I also think Lebeya had some points, and he was telling the truth. Anonymous.
Well, let's wait and see. Lesego says, Clement, I think there's a smoking gun here. Kenny said a brother of him took him to go meet KT, but we also know that Malcolm ran ZAR, and then he says he was there for 12 hours or whatever. Now there's the real hub. Which brother took Kenny there? And then which brother called Malcolm? Just too many loose ends. On the other hand, I doubt that Malcolm knows those people. The man was in varsity for 30 straight years without an exclusion. Really? Wait, maybe Lebeya was right about his Mpimbi having previously given them information. Who else do you know who was in varsity as long as Malcolm without being excluded? Mind you, this dude held the rector of Rao hostage and didn't get redlined. In fact, he moved to VETS and did the same thing, even threatened to jump off one of the buildings. You do your math. That's what the source says there on the WhatsApp line. It's 10:30.